College Algebra, Topic 4.5, will be graphical rational functions. First, we need to find the y-intercepts. We find that by making all the x's 0. So we'll get 0 squared minus 9 over 0 plus 1. This gives us negative 9. Next, we need the x-intercepts. To find the x-intercepts, we set the numerator polynomial equal to 0 and solve for x. So I'll factor this into x plus 3, x minus 3. And when you solve both factors for 0, we get x equals negative 3 and x equals positive 3. Thirdly, my vertical asymptotes are found by taking the polynomial in the denominator and setting it equal to 0 and solving for x. So we get x equals negative 1. And finally, our other asymptotes all will be y equals, and we found by division, x plus 1 divided into x squared minus 9, a long division. So I have x squared divided by x, which gives me x. That's my first answer. And x times x is x squared. X times 1 is x. Next, I change my signs. This is negative, and this becomes negative. And lastly, I combine my terms, which I get negative x and a negative 9. I start the process over again. By taking negative x, dividing it by x, and I get negative 1. That's my next answer. Negative 1 times x is negative x. Negative 1 times 1 is negative 1. Then I change my signs, and I get a negative 8. We will not use this remainder. We'll only use the wholes, which is x minus 1. Okay. Now, the graph from here, let me find some paper. Give me just a second here. Well, here, I'll write it on the side here. The graph will have negative 9 as a y-intercept, and we'll also have, as a x-intercept, we'll have negative 3 and positive 3. We'll also have a vertical asymptote at x equals negative 1, and a oblique asymptote at y equals x minus 1. So minus 1 is right about here. And say up 1 over 1 should be about there. Okay. And that's y equals x minus 1. Okay. Now, finally, the graph itself. The graph itself will follow the asymptotes. It'll either be on top of this asymptote or below. Since there's no way to go to, we need to pass through this intercept, it must be on top. So we're going to follow the top path. Now here it's either going to climb down this asymptote or up this asymptote. Well, climbing up will get us through the intercepts, so I'm going to choose to climb up and then follow the last asymptote. And that's the answer. Okay, now let's take a look at the next one. Number 6. Well, number 6, our function is in two pieces. We want to put this into one piece. So I'm going to convert this 1 into x over x. So now they have the same denominator. And now we combine these two, and we get x plus 1 all over a single x. And now I start to find my my y-intercepts. And that's found by making all x's 0. And here I get an undefined, so there are no y-intercepts. Secondly, finding my x-intercepts, I take my numerator, set equal to 0, and solve for x. And I get x equals negative 1. Thirdly, we find our vertical asymptotes. Vertical asymptotes are found by taking the polynomial in the denominator and setting it equal to 0. And we have a vertical line at x equals 0. Finally, my other asymptotes. We find those by using long division. Okay, so that'll be x divided into x plus 1. Well, first x divided by x equals, oops, it's too low. X divided by x equals 1, so that's my first answer. And 1 times x is x. Then I change my signs, and I end up with 1. And this remainder cannot be used, so I'm finished with my other asymptotes. Y equals 1. Now let's begin the graph. Okay. Well, first, there are no y-intercepts here, so I don't have to worry about that. The x-intercepts, I'll have -1. For my vertical asymptotes, I'll have x equals 0. So right here, x equals 0. And for my other asymptote, I have y equals 1. So that's a horizontal line. Y equals 1. All right, furthermore, okay, my graph will be either above this asymptote or below. Well, since I see that -1 there, it's going to be below because I have to go through that intercept. So I'll go through that intercept and then climb down this asymptote. Now I'll either be climbing down this side of the asymptote or climbing up. Well, in order to climb up, I would need a y-intercept or x-intercept, and there are no x-intercepts there, so it must be climbing down to follow the next asymptote. And that is finished.